Okay, so hello everyone. So let us start
Good
from
evening, sir.
good evening. So we want to start from whatever we have left on last Tuesday. So Friday, I think there is a discussion on theory part. Uh, as I can remember, I have discussed when to use abstract class, when to use interfaces, right? Which method should be abstract, which method should be a normal method, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So today I'll start with something called as a default method. Um, so it's a bit tricky. So that's why I want to say, but I won't say it's very useful for doing programming. But yeah, you should understand like how to use it and what could be the problems of using it. Okay. Next, we'll see a little bit of private inner class. Okay. And if time permits, we'll see the callback also. Uh, we'll try to finish the iterator part on next Tuesday. So we have time still. So I'll go a little slow. So screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So first I want to go for this concept of default, right? So as you know, whenever I have an uh, interface, so I say payable, right? So normally interface name we give something payable, playable, flyable kind of thing. So suppose I have a method, I say pay, so it will be by default a public abstract, right? We cannot give a definition or implementation of it. But if I create a default method, right, within a class, within an interface, suppose I have a method called as a show, right? Then it allows me to write some implementation. So I say show p payable now. Okay. So the idea of default method is that it will provide a default implementation, right? So ideally an interface should provide all abstract methods. So we do not give an implementation. But default basically break that criteria. It allows giving some implementation to you. So it's basically called as a default implementation. Now, what if I have a class called as a bill which implements this payable interface, right? Now, as you know, if you have an abstract method, right, either you have to implement it or you need to make your class as an abstract class again, right? So if it is a normal class, you should define everything, right? So bill is a normal class, it's not an abstract class. So I should define what is abstract inside the table. So this is by default a public abstract. Okay. So let us define it. So I'll have public void pay system dot out dot print value. It's just kind of a stuff like I'm not going to implement really anything. Suppose I say bill colon colon pay. So that I can understand the pay method is called from the bill class. Right. Now, if you have a default implementation on the interface, so it's already having an implementation. So unlike the interface definition, you may skip defining the show, which is the default method over here, because it's already having a default implementation. So let us go for my public void, public static void main. Here I have object of bill. So say bill be equal to new bill. Then I call b dot pay and b dot show. Right? If I run this, P is capital, no? Table P. So you can see the pay method is coming from the implementation what I have. But this is the default implementation of your method, right? This is the default implementation of method. So though you have a default implementation, but still you are allowed to override it like a normal overriding. So I can say here this show is now called from the bill. So if you have overridden this, then show. And if I run this, so obviously it will get the method implementation from the bill class because this object is the bill type, right? So I already discussed like on Tuesday, it depends on the object type from where the implementation will be invoked. So implementation has to be invoked from the bill class, right? But suppose I skip this definition, so it will get the default definition. But if I skip this, then it is a problem because this don't have having an implementation. This is abstract, right? So that's why I don't be able to find its definition. So it will say either bill has to be an abstract class, means you can have it declared as an abstract. So abstract will remain as an abstract, like undefined, or you need to override the abstract method P, right? Okay. Up to this, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah.
so the thing is, the same thing can be achieved using an abstract class.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. This is kind of a giving a way inside an interface that I can define something. So that is what I'm saying. It's not truly an interface thing I'm doing. Actually, that's why I told it is not very much used in practice, or I'm also not favor of using this default. But yes, this situation or this mechanism is provided that even inside an interface, you can have certain implementation if it is very much required, right? But it is not a good way to do the programming. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I make it bit this critical. So I have another interface, suppose. I say it's a displayable. Okay. Suppose I have a void display, void display method. Now this is also, suppose it's a default, it's also having a default implementation. So here display the element. Suppose something is written, right? Now what you have seen last day, we cannot do multiple extend, means multiple inheritance, but you can do implement multiple interfaces. So I can implement payable as well as I can also implement displayable, right? So in that case, if it is not and default. Suppose it's an abstract, like I have a display, then it is a mandate that you do define it explicitly. So it is a bill because I'm doing the implementation upon bill. I say display, right? So like what we have done, we can also have a display call because it is now defined inside the bill itself, and I'm getting the output. Now,
Sir,
huh,
hello.
yeah,
So if the function is static, we can also implement, right? Uh,
yes, yes.
like in an interface, if a function is static, so you told it's if it is default, you can have an implementation inside an interface. But if the function is static, can we have an
Static
implementation inside?
basically used in a different way. Static methods are not overridable, right? So static methods, like only the thing is like if you have a static, then you can directly have to have an implementation and it has been called like a payable dot the method name. So it's a very rigid kind of a call. So we don't have much flexibility. So that's why I don't want to talk about the static part because the use is very limited whenever it's a talk of interfaces.
So suppose there's a interface in Java called list,
Yeah.
and if I want to call list or set dot or tree, there's a static function you can directly call. Is it
So that is what
that
I'm
static
saying.
one?
Yeah, that is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So it's a rigid call. No, there is no overriding over here. So if you create a
But
static
default
method inside,
default also we can override, but it's not necessary. Like the other functions.
no, no, the concept is different. You are mixing up. I'm saying for non-static, it is overridable. I'm not saying that you can override or may not override. Right? I'm saying it is overridable. If you want, you can override it. But for static, it cannot be overridden. That is what I'm saying. So whenever you will have a non-static, it is overridable. So it depends on the user will override it or not, right? But
Okay, sir.
there is a scope you can override.
Okay, sir.
But for
I think so.
static,
I'm
there is
mixed up.
no scope. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so, so one very silly doubt, sir.
Huh.
So the thing is, let's say if I have two default methods, one in payable and one in
I'm going
displayable,
for
and
that.
both have
I
the
think
same
I'm
name.
going for that. Wait for
Okay,
five
okay,
minutes.
sir.
Okay. 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 So next, suppose I commented out this display and I make the display as a default, right? So in that case, I may have a display over here. So overriding is fine. But I can also may not override it because I have a default definition. But only the thing will happen, it will invoke the implementation from the display. But what if instead of display, here it is named as a show? Now what will happen? So I don't have this display call. I'm just making call to show. Now the problem is inside the payable there is a show. Inside the displayable also there is a show. So which implementation it will get?
So I think it should throw an error.
So which line you think it should be an error?
B dot show in the main method.
So here are the lines. Actually, the
20,
error will
30,
come
30.
on the line number 14.
Error will be on the implementation, sir.
Yeah. So we don't know. It will be
You
coming.
cannot have two functions, same function
Yeah. So it will be from the line
inside
number
a.
14.
Yeah.
The error will come from the line number 14 actually. So it says the types payable displayable are incompatible because There are unrelated defaults show from both the types are coming. Right. This problem won't happen if in both the cases show is abstract.
Yes, because we have to give the implementation explicitly then.
If show is abstract in both the interfaces, then I don't mind because they're not implemented, right? Anyhow, I'll be doing the implementation over here. So I have an implementation. Let us uncomment this. Right. So I don't have a problem, right? Now what if, up to this is it clear? No? If it is abstract, I don't have a problem. So
Yes,
that's why Java allows multiple implementations, because by nature you are not supposed to implement anything, right? But the problem appears whenever you go for a default. That's why I don't like this default. So now once you open up both the default, both are having two different implementations. So I don't know which one I should take. Now little more complicated. Suppose in one place it is default, in one place it is abstract. Then what will happen? And here suppose I don't have any implementation. So in payable there is a default implementation for show, whereas in displayable it is abstract.
won't give an error.
So it says bill has to be abstract, does not override method show, right? Because since it is abstract, right, then it must be overriding the show which is there from displayable. Now suppose I open up this. Now
It won't give error. It shouldn't. I mean, because we have given an implementation.
it is fine. Now suppose now both are having default implementation. I don't have a definition here. Now what will happen?
So error, you have already
It
told.
is error on the line number 16 because two
Yes,
different definitions are coming which are unrelated, right? Now what I have a definition.
no error because we have given the implementation.
The problem is here, yeah, right? The problem is here, I'm getting to implementation, it's fine, but I'm not bothering about the implementation I'm getting. I've already overridden that, right? So you can
Uh,
remember and understand all the combinations, right?
yes, sir. Sir, one more case error can be there, sir. When we try to call super dot show
In
from within
interfaces,
this
usually
override.
we don't use a super, so let us not use it. Yeah, we can do that. It will show an error. But usually for abstract method, we do not use a super. It's not a good idea actually to use a super
Yes, sir. Yes.
for
I
an
just
abstract
wanted
method.
to give an
Yeah,
error
yeah.
condition.
If it is an, see, the point is whenever you are having an interface means you are creating an incomplete class, means you are having an incomplete implementation. And super refers to a parent object. A parent object itself is a incomplete implementations, right? So it's not a good idea to call a object of an incomplete implementation, because we already told that we cannot have an object of an incomplete class like an interface. So okay, this is clear, no? Logically, everyone clear? These combinations all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So can you repeat all the combinations once again?
So
Hello.
yeah,
So this default was added actually now I I actually had a chance to listen someone. Uh, uh, they said ki like in there's something called as backward compatibility in programming languages,
Mhm.
where you have two functions, but you want to implement it another way. So this was actually done so that the older code should also work and the newer
Yes.
one should
So
also work.
actually the story is, suppose I have implemented a class, right? Suppose I have a class called payable, and initially whenever I have implemented that only had a pay method, abstract method. So whenever I have implemented this payable interface, I have implemented this pay. But suppose now this framework they are enhancing. So they have newly added a method show, right? Now what will happen? My implemented class will fail now because that do not have a definition of show, right? To keep this compatibility, if I add this show method, which I'm adding new, because I don't know which of the classes already implemented my payable before. So I'll put a default, right? So that if these classes which have implemented, those are old classes, they have used the old definition of payable. So that cases it do not have an error, because since it is having a default implementation, so it do not mandate that you need to implement the show. So that is the backward compatibility I was telling about. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
okay?
So
Yeah,
this is what exactly
yeah,
there's someone called as Brian Gretz. Okay, so
yeah.
he was giving a talk and I heard this
Mhm.
a few years back. So I remembered now suddenly. You know, told why was default actually added to the interfaces.
Yeah, but uh,
Yeah, but it can confuse people at
yeah, it
someone who is
confuses a
beginner
lot.
level.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing
Yeah,
is happens, no, the problem is right now, like why this default is coming. So this basically introduced first, I think, in Microsoft, this programming C Sharp and all. The things happens because we are doing programming nowadays in a distributed environment. Suppose I am doing coding from somewhere, you are doing from somewhere, and all are contributing to the same code base, right? Now, whenever you are developing your module, you do not know what is my module is, right? So how do we talk to each other? So we need to make our modules compatible, right? I can make call to your module. You can also make call to my module. So that's why this interface concept came before. That I'll be generating the interface first. So he will be knowing these are the things I must implement. And he also publishes interface so that I'll be knowing that these are the must thing he has implemented. So that makes our calling easy. So I do not bother okay, what kind of implementation he has, but I know till this interface I have, I can make a call to pay, I can make a call to show. I don't bother okay, how they have implemented, what is the programming language even, right? So that's why it came. Now what happening, suppose a module getting upgraded, right? So they are planning to, so traditionally the abstraction say this interface once developed it should not be changed. Implementation you can do any change any moment of time, because the caller won't be affected, because caller can see only your interface, he do not bother care how the implementation happens, right? But the moment you are upgrading, you want to add more functionality, your interface has to be updated, right? Now, if your caller having a older code who do not aware of okay, what are the new things you have added, then they're going to face a problem. So that's why this kind of mechanism slowly coming up. Okay, come back to this. Um, I have a void pay. Uh, you told me to show the combinations, right? So first, this show is abstract in both the way, right? And I don't have overriding. Then it is always an error because show is abstract in payable and displayable, which is not implemented right in bill. So it's
Yes,
a
sir.
straight error. It will say either the bill has to be an abstract class or do override it. Sure. Now second thing was I have both abstract and I have an implementation. I don't have a problem. Both are giving abstract method which do not have an implementation, and I'm also providing the overriding or implementation. The second way is one is making it abstract, another giving it as a default, right? So it looks like that default implementation will come, but it will again raise the error. It will say the bill is not implementing the abstract method which is there in payable. So it should be again abstract or it should override the show, because it will treat the abstractness first of show. So it says it is missing the implementation, right? So it fails. But what if I have a definition? If I have a definition like overriding, I don't mind. So I have a single implementation on the parent. So I'm overriding it anyhow. So it will work. It will take the definition from the implementing class, right? The next thing we have discussed, if we have both default, if we have both default, right? Now the problem is two different implementation is coming. So bill do not know which one to use, right? It's an ambiguous definition for bill, for show for bill, right? So it says the show method defined in two different ways are not never can be correlated, right? So that's why it's raise an error, right? But what if I have a definition? If I have a definition, I don't mind at all. So whatever my interfaces are doing, let it be. I'm always going to have my overridden implementation. Sorry, what happened?
So in payable, there is a default show and void show.
6, line number 6.
Line 6.
Oh, ho, ho. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So clear, right? No doubt.
So what if I explicitly want to use the show method of any particular interface?
See, ideally you should not do it. If it is a class, what you can do, uh, from here, you can make a super call. Then you can call super.show, right? But which is a not good idea, because first of all, this is an ambiguous call, because I don't know which super, because I'm having two super now. And secondly, a super is a reference to the parent object. But can I have a parent object? That's a big question. Because
Sir, super would refer to parent class, sir. The thing is, we'll have to use the interface name dot super dot show. It has to be explicitly written, unless then it won't work. So I've tried right now. I'm just trying that.
no, I'm telling you, see, super is referring to the parent object. Do not refer to the parent class. It basically refer to the parent object, right? So now, since these are interfaces, right? Since these are interfaces, they cannot have their objects, right? So that's why this call never be possible, right? What you're saying? Uh,
So we have to explicitly write the interface name dot super dot then a method call.
Correct.
So what if I just call the displayable dot show instead of using super?
See, this call is possible if it is a static method, right? The class name dot invocation, it is possible if the show is a static. So if you want to make it as a static, oh sorry, I've removed it from, sorry, it will
Should
be,
have to
it
say
is the
payable.
payable, right? It will be
Yes,
payable
yes.
here. So direct call is possible using the class name, this. But these call, how it is possible? So it is taken from actually C++ to remove the ambiguity, but it's not very much goes with the Java, because super.show, I told it is an ambiguous call, right? Because I don't know if I have definition of show in both the cases. So I do not know which show method I am referring to, right? Because both are super to me. So that ambiguity could be broken. So I can explicitly refer that super means which super I'm pointing to. So it's a super which is payable.
Sir, but the issue will be at 16 line ना वो पहले ही error दे देगा before calling itself.
Why?
Because show is in both the class, na sir, as we did checked last.
But I have overridden, right?
Oh, sorry. My mistake. Sorry, sir.
See, if you do override, whatever it is, it will give the overridden thing.
Yes,
Because
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
if you
Got it.
override it, finally it's going to invoke that only. So if you override straightforward, whatever you have the implementation in the inherited implemented class, so that's your result. The problem will occur if you don't have the overriding. It cannot select, or this kind of issues happens. Okay, so I think this is somewhat fine. So let me have another kind of issue over here, which I want to discuss. So I've logged up to this. I have an interface. I have a abstract class, right? Sorry, displayable. Now inside the displayable also I can have an abstract method. Suppose here I have, here I need to explicitly write it as a public abstract, right? Now this show method is there in table also. Sorry, displayable also, right? But displayable is now as an abstract class. So now what will happen? Let me comment everything over here. Let me move the main up. Okay, so that we can keep it visible every time. Okay. Okay. I have a class bill or invoice. Now I need to implement payable, but I need to extend displayable. Any doubt over here?
Sir,
No,
extends will
so
be written first, followed by implement. I think.
Let us see. So pay method is not creating any concern. Let us have only show, right? So what I should have? The show required a implementation because both interface and abstract class making it as a abstract. So let us go for an implementation. I go for it, then I say bill, I say pay, right? Bill be equal to new bill, then p dot pay. Now, oh sorry, it is a show, right? Okay. So I should do extend first, then implements. What happened? Okay. App. Okay, bill dot pay, because there is no confusion because this is overridden mainly.
Yes,
Right? So
implemented.
whatever we have, I don't bother. Okay. Now, what if I have a default definition? So if I don't have this implementation, then it's obviously an error because it will say either it has to be an abstract class or it need to define it, right? Okay. Now suppose on interface, I have a definition. Means I have a default definition. Okay. The first thing, if I don't have overriding, it's again the same way. It says it is abstract. In abstract class, you must implement it. And if I do implement it, there is no doubt, okay, definition will come from the child class. So, definition will come from the child class, right? Okay. Now what about here? It is show abstract, but here it is a normal class, a normal method. In abstract class, I can have normal method also, right? Public void show displayable show. So what if I don't have a definition over here? This is interesting.
Sir,
Now,
abstract issue,
Error.
interface.
now see, though inside payable it is abstract, but if it is getting a normal method from the abstract class, even if I don't have a overriding, it is will get it from the abstract method. So it is little different from what we have already
Yes,
seen.
yes. In default,
Even,
where we went for
even,
two interface having.
even if I have a different implementation as a default implementation inside the interface, it will prioritize the abstract implementation. Implementation there in the abstract class. So previously for two interfaces it got rejected, right? Because it's told like it's a implementations which are coming. But here it is not ambiguous. If I have a choice between a interface and abstract class, I'll get the definition from the abstract class, right? So this is what is difference. Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
So this default concept I have given everything. Next I'll go for the implementation, like why we need these abstract classes, interfaces, so many things. I have already told you some examples, but there are some cases like it is almost must. You should use it. Sometime we need to create a very secure implementation of a class, right? Which do not let the user create an object of that class until and unless that particular caller is authorized to access certain things. Right? What I meant to say, suppose you call a method, right? So your object has to be created first, right? If you want to call a method, it's a non-static method, definitely. So you create an object, then make a call to the method. Now implementation of the method decide if you are allowable or not. Like you have some checking inside the method. So some code may be executed, which could be kept inside if the else part may not be executed. So we can prevent some criteria. But more secure implementation, suppose I say, if my user or the caller is not authenticated, I won't let him create the object only. Forget about calling the method, right? So user will be given an object of my class if and only if the caller or my user is the authenticated one, right? So there is a practice in our software engineering. We say it's a good designing practice that called as a freedom. Freedom say some part of your, so normally it's implemented for your applications, web application, desktop applications. So it says some part will be accessible by your user without any authentication. But there are again some part which is secure part that must be accessed with certain authentication. Suppose you go for a flight booking website. So if you want to check like which day, which flight is available, what is the cost, right? That you can do without doing any login or anything. But whenever you want to do the booking or you want to check your order, then you have to do a login, right? Without login, you cannot do all those steps. If you go to IRCTC, so you can check out your train and all, but if you want to do a reservation, you need to do a login, right? So, even I'm defining a class, what I can do, I can give certain access which are uh, given for all the users, but certain part of it I may want to make it secure, right? So that part object could be created if the user is authenticated. So let me go for the simple example. Suppose I want to reserve a movie ticket in a cinema, right? So let me have a class, simple way. Uh, I'll say movie. What I should give the name? Something like a book my show, right? Kind of implementation, right? Let me change it. I make it as a book your show. Okay. Um, there are some parts. Suppose I want to explore like what are the movies are there, etc., etc. Those could be done by anybody. So suppose I give, for example, a method. Suppose I say find, so people can search a movie. So this I'm not going for the like implementation. I just give a stub implementation. Like I say check your check check what are the movies running, something like this, right? Those can be done by anybody, but there is a very secure thing, reserve your seat, right? That I want to make, that part I want to make secure. So inside a class, I can have a private implementation of a class whose existence won't be known to outsider because the class itself is defined as a private class. So the people outside your Book My Show class, they do not know existence of this class only because this is private within the Book Your Show class, right? So I say public class reservation or booking is the booking class. Now, what I want, my user will get access to the class if he is authenticated, right? So let me try to do this in a way. Suppose I have a private method over here, boolean, right? Uh, Authenticate. So which have a string user string pwd. So I say if user dot equals, I told somebody I'll show equals, right? Forget it. Admin and pwd dot equals pass. Then I return true. I mean to say somebody having this admin and password, they are authenticated user. But in real implementation, we do not store the login password in the code, right? It will be from database or somewhere, right? On our configuration file, something else. But let it be, make it simple. Somebody give the correct login and password. So it will be validated, but it is a private function, right? It can be called internally. So now what I want to do, I want to create a public class, a public method, which basically gives you a booking object. So I say get booking. So I say if authenticate pwd, then then return return new booking, else return null. So for the time being, we are returning a null because I can do not return a null object. But whenever you'll come to know this exception handling, basically you can fire an exception if you are not authenticated enough. So that's a good practice actually. So how it happens, somebody explore like to find like his availability of the show, a movie. Now he will basically call this get booking function. So in get booking function, whenever they will call, they have to pass a user ID and a password. If the authenticate function is a private function, I call that, which checks these are correct or not. If they are correct, it returns object of a booking. Otherwise, it do not return it. It returns just a null. Now, what I make sure, this booking object only accessible by the people or available only for the people who knows the login and password, who are authenticated. Rest of the people won't get an object only for booking class. Please make sure up to this, is it clear or not?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes, sir, everything is clear, but in the authenticate method, there is no space between string and PWD.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so once I have done the booking, like I got the booking class, so I can call the methods of booking. Suppose I have a method called book, right? So which let me book the ticket booked. Some message will come. Okay, so let me go for my application. So I'll have my public static. So he is the caller, he is the user, right? This main, this app class. Now, first, definitely it will create this book my show object. So I say ob equal to new book my show, book your show, right? So ob dot find. So there is no harm to call it, but using ob, I cannot call this book method because it is not the object of book your show class, right? That's straightforward way. So it belongs to a class which is private again, right? So what I need to do first, I need to create an object of which class? I have to create object of booking class.
Booking.
But how do I create an object of booking class? I cannot see the booking class itself because it's a private, right? But I can still do it. I need to call ob dot get booking. And if I pass the correct login and password, what will happen? This will call this. This will call this. So which will check this, it returns a true. If it is a true, then it returns me an object of booking. It returns me an object of booking. Now once I get the object of booking, then I can call what? I can call book. Okay. What is the problem? Anyone?
Do we need to cast it to booking class?
Here?
Yes, sir.
But this booking type is accessible to you?
No.
Maybe not.
No. It is private inside the class. So that is the problem. I do not know existence of the booking itself. Right. So what I can do,
Book is not doing anything, so maybe
yeah.
because of that.
So what I can do, if I have an interface, right, bookable, right, where I have void book, and for this booking class, I have implements. Can I say, see this? See, bookable is accessible to you, right? No problem. Now booking is implementing bookable. So it becomes a subtype, right? So bookable is a parent type. So parent type reference can refer to a child type object. So it can refer to a booking object. Now inside B, you know the capability is it can have a book, but you don't know the implementation. So I don't bother about the implementation because I know the implementation will come from where? It will come from my child class. Sorry, from the object. See, now it's happening. What I'm doing, I am exposing this capability to the outsider through an interface. I'm not showing the implementation to anybody, right? I'm saying there is something bookable which will have some book. But the concrete class is private, right? So you do not know anything about the implementation, but you have a reference which knows the capability. So using that, if you call the book, now B is referring to an object of booking, so implementation will come from the booking class. That's all. So this is a very secure implementation. Got it?
Sir,
Hmm.
hello.
Yeah.
Uh, this class booking we are having inside this book your show class, right?
Hmm.
So, can we not have this outside? This,
See, if it is outside,
huh?
then directly people can create an object of it. No, so I'm
Like
saying
if I don't make if I am not making it public,
you cannot have a private class in outside.
but
So
I will not make it public.
then it will be a default. No, default means you can create still object within the same package.
What, sir?
You can still create an object, right? If it is not private.
But like if the class is outside the package, it cannot be accessed, no?
Then how you supposed to use that class?
Okay, so you're saying we can use this class but cannot access this in that.
That is what I'm saying. Means it can check the authentication, then only it will provide access. Yes, what you are saying that is also possible, but again indirectly you have to create an object and you have to provide it to the user, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Some
I was,
class has to
I was
create the
thinking
object, then it has to be set.
this class we can have another file also like that, like
No,
another.
that's not a way. The file does not matter. Package I can restrict. I can make it a package default. Then other
Mm,
package cannot directly create an instance of it. But
yeah.
in that case, how I'll use the class? I have to create
Mm,
another public class through which I need to instantiate and return it. So it becomes like
yeah.
this. But
Okay.
this is more
So,
secure. Even if I have
okay,
same thing,
got what you want to say. But sir, like can we not do this in another like in proper IDE? Like this is because that we can have different classes like Eclipse and all.
no, that's fine. So you can write it. See, I what I'm saying, these program is written by a user. So
Mm,
he cannot see this, right?
okay.
But interface is exposed to everyone. No, they will be knowing about the interface. Interface means it is something shareable. See, even people knows the definition also. Suppose I give the class, right? I say create from this class, create a object of booking class. So until and unless he use the booking get booking method, anyway there is create to able to he'll be able to create the object of booking.
Okay, sir. Okay.
There is no way to create no other than having an indirect thing. And this interface is required because since this booking is not at all visible outside of the class. So why I'm saying it's more secure. So if you say it's a package, inside the package it's insecure, right? But if you make it private within a class, then within the same package
Yeah.
also you're getting a lot of security,
Yeah. Yes. Sir.
right?
Got it.
But the booking is completely hidden inside the book your show. So there is no existence of like you make the type itself not visible outside
Yeah.
the book your book show. So that's why whenever even app is calling, app do not know this name. He cannot
Mm,
recognize. He knows there is everything bookable.
yeah. Yeah. Like if it is in some file, then maybe it can be accessed via.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it doesn't matter, right? He may change the name internally. Suppose I say uh, I say something like what I say, add. Simple, I say add, right? And I say here add. So user do not bother at all, right? So still my sorry, which one need to be changed? Oh, here also I can make it much more simple. Suppose I make it as a bookable, so I need to change lesser much. So returning add object or bookable object the same thing, because add implements the bookable, right? So whatever implementation you are changing over here, that doesn't bother my coding, right? So if I change here, user no way affected. Whatever the implementation change you do inside your classes, they absolutely remain the same.
Yes,
Got it,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So it doesn't matter also. So ideally I should use an interface, but you can still do an abstract class also. So that also works, right? But whenever there is a chance, I try to prefer to use an interface because I can have a multiple implementation. Whenever it's an abstract class, I can extend only once. So that's a limitation, right? But still, in this case, it is achievable with abstract method. So if I have this defined as a public abstract, it will have the same effect of the interface, right?
The inner class has to extend, sir.
It has to be extensive. Oh, sorry, it is right. So point is like I need to create a type whose type subtype will be my subclasses, and type should define the capability of the subclass, so that as a outsider I know what you are capable of but I don't know how do you implement all those things. I don't bother also. So since I know what you are capable of, I'll blindly make call to those things. Okay.
Sir, this get booking, sorry, this private class
Huh?
booking. So if we keep it outside and if it is default, then in another package it can't be. It is still private,
It
right?
cannot be seen. So you need to create another class which is a public class through which you have to create an object and return to that. And you should also have a public interface, right? So that people can see what are implemented. Sorry, what are your default class capable of, right?
Yes. So if it was default, then in another package we can't see it is
Yeah,
protected. But
yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
if you are authenticated, we can't create object.
No. Yes.
That is why this.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see another application. So there are many situations in any programming. So where two classes has to interact each other. Right? Suppose I'm a class, I give you some tasks to do, you are a different class. So you complete the class, then you have to give me back the control and you have to notify me somewhere that I have done my job. And it is very popularly used in a event-driven program. Suppose I keep a watcher that somebody clicking on the mouse, right? If somebody keeping on a mouse on a particular menu item, it should notify and it should invoke certain method from my class, right? Which will respond to the click. So how I can build this kind of interaction between two classes, right? So I'm giving some dummy name class A and class B, and I say this class A must be talking to class B. Suppose class B is supposed to do certain tasks for class A, and class B will notify class A by calling some methods inside class A. Okay, so I'm doing very simple implementation. Try to understand. Public void start, right? Start will do what? Start will create an object of class B, right? And B is supposed to do a task for A. Right? It can be any task. It's doing some task. Okay. Now once the task is done, suppose there is method of finish, right? Once B has done, now somehow it has to call the finish method from class A, so that class A will start the next job or do something. Do you get what is the problem I try to handle? Suppose A initiate a task, but it has to be get the job done by class B, right? So once B has completed its job, somewhere it has to notify A that I have completed my job, right? So in this case, what happened? Class A, basically there is a start method. If I start the class A, it create the job, assign the class B to do the job. So once B has completed its task, then it calls the finish method on the A so that A will come to know the job got finished. To understand the problem statement?
Yes, sir.
Everyone, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now see, if B has to make a call to the class A, then B should know, or B should have an object of A. B should have an object of A. So how class A will be pass its own object to class B? So if I want to pass its own object, that is basically a this. This means object of A. This is reference to the object of current class. So currently I am inside the class A. So if I say in the constructor be this, means I am passing the current object, current class object means I am passing the current class is A. So if I have a constructor in class B, a parameterized constructor, so it is basically receiving an object of A. So suppose I have A, J, A. So I'll say obj A equal to obj. So I get the object of A inside object of B. Now how this call could be done? I say obj A dot finish. Up to this, is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Sir, could you please repeat again?
So problem statement, you got it, right? You got
Yes.
the problem statement, right? Okay. So the point is how I can call the finish method, which is there in my caller itself, that is class name, right? Somehow I have to pass a object of A into class B. Somehow I have to pass a object of class A into B, right? So I'm trying to do it with the B's constructor. So B constructor must receive the object of A, which will be stored inside this. This function method constructor call is correct because definition is clear, right? Constructor is clear, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So how do I pass the current object? Since I'm inside the class A, how do I refer to the current object? That is by the this, right? This is a reference to the current object. So if I'm inside the A class, then my current object will be class A object, right?
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
once I get hold of my current object, on that I can call finish. Right. Now, assume I have a big task, just something simulating, okay? Just I'm printing a star. So it will print the star for 1000 into 1000 time, but that's not much actually task for computer. But anyhow, if the finish is called, so I'll be notified that task is done, right? So what is happening? I call the start. Let me write the code also. It will be easy to explain then. Okay. I create an object of class A. Then I say obj.start. That's all. Now, since I'm making obj.start, it creates an object of B, pass its own object, which will be hold into obj A. Now you start your task. So it comes over here. So once the task is done, it calls the finish on the caller object itself. So A call B, B again calls A. So this is called a callback method. This calls a callback method. Suppose you give me a task to do, right? Then after doing the task, I report to you that I have done. So reporting is I have done, or notifying, it's basically calls as a callback. So you make me call, sorry, you called me, right? Then I'm calling you. So that's called a calling you back, right? So that's why the name came callback. So this obj a dot finish is a callback. Okay. So let me see how it works. What happened? Oh, sorry. I need to give a J or something, right? It's going out of buffer. It's an online compiler, right? So do not allow so much space. Yeah, so it's printed. So once it is done, it is told me class task is done. So this is quite simple if you understand this passing of the current object. Is it okay? Now I'll go for the actual thing if you are done for up to this.
Yes.
Okay. Now, suppose B class is a generalized class, right? Anybody can assign it as a class. So instead of class A, it could be a class X, which want to assign B something, right? So if I do a hard coding over here that I'll be receiving an object of class A, then other than A class, no other class can assign it a job. Getting my problem, right?
Yes,
Suppose
sir.
class B is a generalized class. Anybody can give it a task to do. So whoever it is, it will return the callback that it is finished. So if it is a class A, there is no problem. But suppose there is another class which also wants to call the class B. But if this is hard coded that it can receive only the class A's object, then this call fails because now this represents an object of class X, right? Agreed?
Yes, sir, I did.
So this utility class, which is a general purpose class, which can be used by, supposed to be used by any user classes, that purpose failed because the caller class I'm making it fixed. So now all the classes are inherited from the object class. So what if I make it as an object? Now what will happen? So it will receive from any class because class X object also inherited from the object class. Class A's object also inherited from the class A's, or employees object also inherited from the object class. So all the classes I pass basically the child class of the object class. But the problem is, does the object class having the finish method?
No, sir.
No, right? It is not defined inside the object class, right? It is not also abstracted, all right? So there is no capability of finish, right? So what is the good way to do? Again, now the solution comes in form of an interface. Suppose I create an interface, I say doable, right? I say void finish. So I tell doable means there is a capability to finish. I can have any class which implements doable, right? I write it as a doable. Here also I have a doable. Now what will be happening? So any class which implements doable, I can pass it as an object because now doable is the parent, right? And doable having the capability to call the finish, right? So that's why on object A, I can call the finish method. So let me make it app. What is the problem? Oh, no, this is I have to change. This is the main function. Simple for that. So it is getting called, right? If I make it anything, I say XYZ. I'll make it XYZ. I'll make it XYZ. Only the thing is, if the class implement for the doable, this class don't have any changes at all. So it becomes a very generalized class. So any class which implements doable will be able to call this, right? So this is a way we basically create the generalized classes which can be called by others. Got it? This is excellent concept if you do understand. You can do a lot using this.
Sir, here
Yeah.
when we are constructing B, we are passing in the doable object. Instead of that, can we also do it only for the task? When we are calling the task, we can pass the object. This.
Yeah, that is also possible. That is also possible, but usually we don't do it. We make it generalized because if there are more methods, then maybe we can call it do different tasks inside this, right? If you have to make call more than once. So passing with the constructor means this could be used by any method you have inside. But if you pass it within the task means only this method will be able to use this. But for
Yes.
this case, you can pass even inside the task, it will work. Okay. So I've done a lot of things today. So I want to stop. So only one task left, that is iterator. So we'll do it later on Tuesday. Okay.
Yes.
But please watch
Sir,
the video today itself and write the codes again. Okay. Yes, please.
I have one doubt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
suppose if we write, like if you have two classes, then if you write A of object equal to new B, so like if we have two classes A and B,
Uh-huh.
and if you write A object obj some variable equal to new B,
Yeah.
so it so if B is only if B is child of A, it will work. Right? Otherwise, it will throw error.
Yeah, that is what I told. No, left hand side, whatever the reference you will have, that can refer to its own object or child object. It cannot refer to its parent object. It cannot also refers to any unrelated object. See, two
Yes,
classes
sir.
which are unrelated, then also it's not possible.
Yes, sir.
So if you
But like
just remember the definition of this dynamic method principle, that a reference can refer to its own type and its child type, your all problem will be solved.
yes,
Okay.
sir. And if B is not a child, then it will throw an error saying that B cannot be converted to type A.
It will give a class cast exception.
Yeah, it says that B cannot be converted to A.
Yeah, compile time means there are issues. So if it is cached on compile time, then it will give a casting error. But if you do a explicit typecasting, right? So if you say B obj equal to, then casting to B, sorry A, then new B, then compile time it will take, but it will give a exception, cast cast class exception.
Okay. So, and only if B is a child, it works. So that means when we write A obj
How can
equal to
I say
new
works
B,
means you want to make it work on compile time or run time. So that is what I'm saying. If you do not do a explicit casting, then on compile time it will say a typecasting error. But if you do a explicit casting, then compile time we won't catch it. Run time it will get a class cast exception. That is what I'm saying.
okay, sir. And if you don't explicitly convert it, like if B
Then
is
it
a
is a
child of A,
compiler error. Then it is a
yes, and
compiler.
yes, sir. But if B is a child of A, then it will internally implicitly try
It
to
is not
convert
only
B to
the
A.
child, if it is the same object, class object or the child object.
Yes, sir. So if it is child, then will it try to convert it to parent type?
You don't have to cast it. It is automatically converted. It is implicitly converted.
Yeah, okay, sir. So it
You don't have to
implicitly
explicitly go for it. It's implicit.
okay. So but it implicitly converts B to type A. Like
Yeah.
if B is a child. Okay.
Yeah. Upcasting is implicit. Downcasting is castable, but it is explicit. And secondly, it has to also fulfill the dynamic method principle on the runtime. If that fails, then it's a typecast class cast exception. Again, I repeat, uppercasting is always implicit. You don't have to do anything. Downcasting has to be done explicit in the compile time. But runtime, it has to fulfill the dynamic method dispatcher principle. Means the object has to be its own type or child type. If it do not fulfill, even it compiles, still it throws a runtime exception, that class cast exception. Okay.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, then I'll stop.
Sir, and one more doubt, sir.
Yeah, yeah, please. Please. Yeah.